What would you do if the world's most enigmatic billionaire suddenly became your unlikely muse? Emily Carter's hands gripped the cracked leather steering wheel of her 2008 Honda Civic, the engine sputtering as she inched through Fremont's rush-hour traffic. The late May sun hung low, casting golden streaks across the asphalt, but Emily barely noticed. Her hazel eyes darted to the dashboard clock, 5:47 p.m. She was late, again. Jake, her 10-year-old son, was probably pacing the school's pickup zone, his backpack slung over one shoulder, wondering where his mom was. Guilt twisted in her gut, sharper than the unpaid bills piling up on her passenger seat. Her phone buzzed, vibrating against a crumpled coffee cup. A text from Sarah Mitchell, her best friend since college, lit up the screen. Tesla event tonight at the factory. You have to come, Em. Big surprise planned. This could be your break. Emily sighed, brushing a strand of chestnut hair from her face. A break? She hadn't had one of those since she was a starry-eyed journalism major, dreaming of front-page bylines. Now, at 28, she was scraping by on freelance gigs, her career teetering on the edge of oblivion. The radio crackled, a Bay Area DJ's voice cutting through the static. Folks, tonight's the night. Elon Musk is hosting a massive Tesla event right here in Fremont. Word on the street is he's got something wild up his sleeve. Any guesses, listeners? Emily snorted, adjusting her grip on the wheel. Wild? Probably another sleek electric car she'd never afford, or maybe a robot prototype straight out of a sci-fi flick. Still, Sarah's text gnawed at her. A big story could be her ticket out of this rut. Her editor's voice echoed in her mind, you need something fresh, Emily. Something that pops. She glanced at the Fremont skyline, where the Tesla factory loomed like a futuristic fortress. Its glass walls gleamed under the California sun, all sharp angles and polished promise. A stark contrast to her crumbling life. Single motherhood wasn't part of her plan when she moved to San Francisco 5 years ago, chasing dreams of investigative journalism. Neither was moving back to Fremont after her savings dried up. But Jake, her curious, science-obsessed kid, was her anchor, even when she felt like she was drowning in responsibilities. Her phone buzzed again. Jake, Mom, where are you? Can we watch the Tesla livestream? Emily's heart sank. She'd promised they'd watch it together, cuddled on the couch with popcorn, geeking out over Elon Musk's latest invention. Jake idolized the guy, his bedroom plastered with Tesla posters and dog-eared articles about SpaceX. But work, bills, and life kept getting in the way. She typed a quick reply, her thumbs shaky, on my way, buddy. Might have a surprise for you too. Surprise? She barely believed it herself. But Sarah's enthusiasm was infectious, and the idea of a Tesla event with a mysterious twist sparked a flicker of curiosity. Emily wasn't one for miracles, she'd stopped believing in those when her dad walked out 16 years ago, but something about tonight felt different. What could a billionaire like Elon Musk possibly do to surprise a crowd? And why did she feel like this night might change everything? She pulled into the parking lot of Fremont Elementary, the tires crunching on gravel. Jake stood by the curb, his dark hair messy, his blue eyes scanning the lot. He clutched a science notebook, probably doodling rocket designs again. Emily waved, forcing a smile as he jogged over. Sorry, kiddo, she said as he slid into the back seat. Traffic was a nightmare. It's okay, Jake said, but his voice was quiet, his gaze fixed on his notebook. Emily's chest tightened. He'd been distant lately, and she couldn't shake the feeling she was failing him. She ruffled his hair, trying to lighten the mood. Guess what? Aunt Sarah invited us to a Tesla event tonight. Big surprise, she says. Wanna come? Jake's eyes lit up, the first real spark she'd seen in days. Is Elon gonna be there? Like, in person? Emily nodded, her own curiosity growing. That's the rumor. You in? Jake grinned, already flipping through his notebook to a page titled Tesla Ideas. Heck yeah, Mom. Emily's smile faded as she calculated the logistics. The Tesla factory was a 20-minute detour, and she still had to pitch a story idea to her editor by midnight. Plus, her car was making that weird rattling noise again. But Sarah's words echoed, "This could be your break." She thought of her last pitch, a dry piece on local zoning laws, rejected with a curt email, not compelling enough. A Tesla event with a mysterious surprise? That could be compelling. That could be everything. She turned the key, the engine coughing to life, and glanced at Jake in the rearview mirror. "Buckle up, kid. We're going on an adventure." As they pulled out of the lot, the Tesla factory's silhouette grew closer, its lights winking like stars against the dusk. The air felt charged, like the calm before a storm. Emily didn't know what Elon Musk had planned, but for the first time in months, she felt a flicker of hope, a sense that tonight might just be the start of something new. The radio DJ's voice broke through again, "We're live outside the Tesla factory, and the crowd's buzzing. Stay tuned for what's shaping up to be an unforgettable night." Emily's pulse quickened. She didn't know what she was driving toward, but she knew one thing: she wasn't turning back. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Emily Carter leaned against the kitchen counter, the faint hum of the Tesla factory's distant lights filtering through her apartment window. The clock read 6:32 p.m., and Jake was sprawled on the living room floor, his science notebook open to a sketch of a Tesla Cybertruck. He was explaining its specs to an invisible audience, his voice bright with enthusiasm. Emily smiled, but her chest ached. She'd promised him they'd leave for the Tesla event soon, but her mind was tangled in memories she'd rather forget. 16 years ago, Emily's world had unraveled in a small Oregon town, where the air smelled of pine and regret. She was 12, sitting on the porch of their modest ranch house, waiting for her dad, Tom Reynolds, to come home from a gig. Tom was a musician, a dreamer with a guitar and a voice that could hush a crowded bar. He'd promised to teach her how to play "Sweet Caroline" that night, but he never showed. Days later, her mom, Linda, sat her down, eyes red, and said he'd left for good. No note, no goodbye, just a void that shaped Emily's life. That abandonment fueled her drive to become a journalist. Linda, a high school English teacher, had nurtured Emily's love for stories, reading her The Great Gatsby by flashlight during power outages. "Words can change the world, Em," she'd say. Emily clung to that, scribbling articles for the school paper, dreaming of exposing truths and making a name for herself. But college brought new challenges. Scholarships didn't cover everything, and when Linda got sick during Emily's sophomore year, she dropped out to care for her. Linda's death a year later left Emily alone, just as she learned she was pregnant with Jake. Now, at 28, Emily felt like she was running in place. Her Fremont apartment was a far cry from the San Francisco loft she'd imagined. The walls were thin, the carpet stained, and the fridge was perpetually half empty. But Jake, he was her reason to keep going. His dark hair and curious blue eyes reminded her of her mom, not Tom, and she thanked God for that. Jake's obsession with science, especially Elon Musk, was a spark she couldn't dim, even when she was too tired to match his energy. "Mom, did you know Elon's building a Mars colony?" Jake's voice snapped her back to the present. He held up his notebook, a detailed diagram of a rocket scribbled in blue crayon. "It's gonna have domes and solar panels." Emily forced a grin, stirring a pot of mac and cheese. "That's pretty cool, bud. Maybe you'll design one someday." Jake beamed, but his smile faded as he glanced at her. "You okay, Mom? You look sad." Her throat tightened. Kids were too perceptive. "Just thinking about work," she lied, setting the table. "You excited for tonight?" Jake nodded vigorously, launching into a monologue about Tesla's new battery tech. Emily listened, her heart swelling. He was her anchor, but she worried she wasn't enough for him, not with late pickups and missed promises. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Another text from Sarah. You're coming, right? I'm saving you a spot near the press section. Sarah Mitchell was Emily's lifeline, a burst of sunshine in her cloudy world. They'd met in a journalism class at UC Berkeley, bonding over late-night coffee and shared dreams. While Emily's path veered into motherhood and freelance gigs, Sarah landed a job as a Tesla engineer, her optimism unshaken. She was the one who'd pushed Emily to keep writing, even when rejections piled up. "You've got a voice," Sarah always said. "Don't let it go quiet." Emily typed back, "We're coming." Jake stoked. "What's this big surprise?" Sarah's reply was instant, "Can't spill yet. Trust me, it's worth it." Emily chuckled, but doubt crept in. Could she juggle Jake, the event, and her looming deadline? Her editor, Karen, had been clear, one more lackluster pitch, and she'd lose her freelance slot. A story about tonight's Tesla event could be her lifeline, but only if it stood out. She glanced at a framed photo on the counter, her and Jake at the San Francisco Exploratorium last summer, laughing as they built a circuit. It was one of their good days, before the bills got tighter and Jake started noticing her stress. She wanted more days like that, but the weight of her past kept pulling her back. Tom's abandonment wasn't just a memory, it was a lens she saw the world through, making trust a luxury she couldn't afford. "Mom, we gotta go." Jake was already at the door, his Tesla t-shirt slightly too big, his backpack stuffed with snacks and his notebook. Emily grabbed her keys, her heart racing. The Tesla factory was a 20-minute drive, and she hadn't even changed out of her coffee-stained blouse. But Jake's excitement was contagious, and Sarah's promise of a big surprise stirred something in her, a flicker of the ambition she'd buried. As they stepped into the cool evening air, Fremont buzzed with life. The distant hum of the Tesla factory felt like a heartbeat, pulsing with possibility. Emily didn't know what Elon Musk had planned, but she felt a shift, like the universe was aligning for something big. She looked at Jake, his eyes bright with dreams, and made a silent vow, tonight, she'd chase her own. Emily Carter's apartment smelled of burnt toast and desperation. The mac and cheese sat cold on the table, Jake's empty plate a small victory in her chaotic evening. He was now in his room, blasting a YouTube video about Tesla's Gigafactory, his voice mimicking the narrator's excitement. Emily stood by the sink, her phone balanced on the counter, Sarah's text glowing like a lifeline. You're coming, right? I'm saving you a spot near the press section." The Tesla event was in an hour, and Emily's mind was a tug-of-war between duty and dreams. She glanced at the clock, 7:15 p.m., and her stomach nodded. The Fremont Tesla factory was a 20-minute drive, assuming her Honda didn't stall again. She hadn't even showered, her blouse still sporting a coffee stain from this morning's rush. Jake was counting on her, and Sarah's insistence that this event could be career-changing echoed in her head. But doubt clung to her like damp fog. What if she dragged Jake out, only to write another article her editor, Karen, would reject? Her last pitch, a snooze fest about local zoning laws, had earned a curt email, "Not compelling enough, Emily. Step it up or we're done." Emily's fingers hovered over her phone. She typed to Sarah, trying to make it work. "Babysitter's a no-go. Can Jake come?" Sarah's reply was instant, "Bring him. He'll love it. Trust me, this surprise is huge." Emily's lips twitched into a half-smile. Sarah's enthusiasm was like a shot of espresso, but the logistics were a nightmare. Jake was 10, not a toddler, but leaving him with a neighbor felt risky, and taking him to a crowded event meant splitting her focus. Still, his excitement about Tesla, and Elon Musk, might make it worth it. She called out, "Jake, you ready?" His head popped out from his room, eyes wide. "Heck yeah. Is Aunt Sarah gonna be there?" Emily nodded, grabbing her purse. She's saving us spots. Let's move. Jake bolted to the door, his Tesla t-shirt flapping, his backpack stuffed with his science notebook and a granola bar. Emily's heart lifted, his joy was a rare light in her gray world, but the weight of her responsibilities pulled her back down. As they piled into the Honda, Emily's phone pinged again. Not Sarah this time, but Karen. Her email read, "Heard about the Tesla event. Pitch me something by midnight, or we're cutting your column. No pressure, but don't blow this." Emily's breath caught. No pressure. Karen's idea of encouragement was a guillotine. She slammed the car door, her pulse racing. This was her shot, but the stakes felt impossibly high. If she nailed this story, she could keep her freelance gig, maybe even land a staff position. If she failed, she'd be back to scraping by on odd jobs, letting Jake down again. The engine coughed to life, and Emily pulled onto the street, the Tesla factory's distant glow guiding her like a beacon. Jake chattered about Elon's latest tweet, something about a game changer at tonight's event. Maybe it's a flying car, he said, bouncing in the back seat. Emily forced a laugh, but her mind was elsewhere. She needed a story that popped, something no other journalist would have. Sarah's cryptic, big surprise, was her only lead, but what could it be? A new car? A robot demo? Her imagination strained, but hope flickered, a good story could change everything. Halfway to the factory, the car lurched, a metallic rattle echoing from the engine. Emily's heart sank. Not now, she muttered, gripping the wheel. The dashboard warning light blinked ominously. She glanced at Jake, who was too absorbed in his notebook to notice. "Come on, old girl," she whispered, coaxing the Honda forward. The rattling stopped, but her nerves didn't. If the car died, they'd miss the event, and her chance at a story would vanish. She pressed the gas, willing the car to hold together. At a red light, Emily's phone buzzed again. Another text from Sarah, "You're gonna flip when you see this. Hurry." The hope in Sarah's words was a lifeline, pulling Emily through her doubt. She pictured Sarah at the factory, her blonde ponytail bouncing, her Tesla badge gleaming with pride. Sarah had always believed in her, even when Emily didn't believe in herself. Back in college, they'd stayed up late, plotting their futures, Sarah in engineering, Emily in journalism. Now, Sarah was living her dream, while Emily was stuck in survival mode. Tonight, though, felt like a chance to catch up. The light turned green, and Emily accelerated, the factory's sleek silhouette growing closer. The air hummed with anticipation, the streets around the factory packed with cars and news vans. Jake leaned forward, pointing. "Look, Mom. It's like a movie." The Tesla factory's glass walls shimmered under floodlights, the crowd's energy pulsing through the dusk. Emily's pulse quickened. This was bigger than she'd expected, hundreds of people, cameras flashing, a buzz she could feel from the car. But as they neared the parking lot, her phone rang. Karen's name flashed on the screen, and Emily's stomach dropped. She answered, bracing herself. "Emily, where's my pitch?" Karen's voice was sharp. "I heard another outlet's got an exclusive on the Tesla event." "You're not getting scooped, are you?" Emily stammered, "No, I'm almost there. I've got something big." Karen snorted. "Better be." Midnight, Carter. The call ended, leaving Emily's hands trembling. She parked the car, her mind racing. Jake's excitement, Sarah's promise, and Karen's threat collided in her chest. The Tesla factory loomed ahead, its lights a promise and a challenge. Whatever Elon Musk had planned, it had to be her story. She grabbed Jake's hand, his small fingers warm in hers, and stepped into the night, ready to chase the unknown. Emily Carter's sneakers crunched against the gravel of the Tesla factory parking lot, the Fremont night alive with the hum of excitement. Jake clung to her hand, his eyes wide as saucers, taking in the sea of people streaming toward the factory's entrance. The building loomed like a spaceship, its glass facade reflecting a kaleidoscope of floodlights and camera flashes. The air buzzed with anticipation, a mix of tech enthusiasts, journalists, and Tesla employees chattering about the rumored big surprise. Emily's heart raced, a cocktail of nerves and hope. This was her shot to write a story that could save her career. But the weight of Jake's small hand and her editor's midnight deadline felt like anchors dragging her down. "Mom, look!" Jake pointed at a giant Tesla logo glowing above the entrance, its sleek design pulsing with electric blue light. "It's like we're in the future." Emily managed a smile, but her stomach churned. She scanned the crowd for Sarah, who'd promised a spot near the press section, but all she saw were polished reporters in tailored blazers, their press badges swinging confidently. Emily's coffee-stained blouse and messy bun made her feel like an imposter. She tightened her grip on Jake's hand, her other hand clutching her notebook and a cheap recorder she'd dug out of her purse. The factory's entrance was a bottleneck of energy, security guards checking badges with military precision. Emily flashed the guest pass Sarah had texted her, her voice shaky as she explained Jake's presence. "He's with me. Just a kid, loves Tesla." The guard nodded, waving them through, but not before a slick-haired journalist behind her muttered, "Bringing a kid to a press event? Amateur hour." Emily's cheeks burned, but she squared her shoulders, pulling Jake closer. She wasn't here to blend in, she was here to stand out. Inside, the factory was a cathedral of innovation. Assembly lines stretched into the distance, robotic arms frozen mid-motion, their metallic gleam catching the overhead lights. The air smelled of metal and ambition, and a massive stage dominated the center, flanked by screens flashing Tesla's latest models. The crowd buzzed, a mix of tech bros in hoodies, engineers in branded polos, and journalists jostling for position. Emily's pulse quickened. This was bigger than she'd imagined, a spectacle that could make or break her story. "Emily." Sarah's voice cut through the noise. She waved from the press section, her blonde ponytail bouncing, her Tesla badge gleaming against her navy blazer. Emily weaved through the crowd, Jake trailing behind, his eyes darting to every shiny surface. Sarah hugged her tightly, then knelt to high-five Jake. "You ready for the show, kiddo?" Jake grinned, clutching his notebook. "Is Elon gonna show us a new car? Or a robot?" Sarah winked. "Something even crazier. You'll see." Emily raised an eyebrow, her journalist instincts kicking in. "Sarah, what's the deal? You've been dodging my questions all day." Sarah smirked, her green eyes sparkling with mischief. "Let's just say Elon's got a wild side nobody expects. Trust me, this is your story." Emily's hope surged, a fleeting warmth against the cold dread of Karen's deadline. Sarah's confidence was infectious, but the muttering journalist's words still stung. Could she really pull this off? They settled into the press section, Jake perched on a folding chair, sketching in his notebook. Emily scanned the crowd, spotting familiar faces from Bay Area newsrooms, reporters who'd landed bylines in the Chronicle and Wired. She felt a pang of envy, remembering her college dreams of joining their ranks. Now, she was barely hanging on, her freelance gigs dwindling. If she didn't deliver tonight, Karen would cut her loose, and she'd be back to writing clickbait for pennies. The lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd. Emily's recorder was ready, her notebook open, but her hands trembled. Jake leaned against her, whispering, "This is gonna be awesome, Mom." His faith was a lifeline, pulling her through the doubt. She whispered back, "You bet, bud." For a moment, the weight lifted, she was here for Jake, for herself, for the story that could change everything. Then, a glitch. The stage lights flickered, and a low hum from the speakers turned into a piercing squeal. The crowd groaned, and Emily's heart sank. Technical difficulties. Now. She glanced at Sarah, who shrugged, unfazed. Happens all the time. They'll fix it. But Emily's mind raced. If the event stalled, she'd lose precious time to write her article. Karen's voice echoed, "Don't get scooped." She checked her phone, 8:45 p.m. 3 hours until the deadline. Panic clawed at her chest. A rival journalist, a woman in a sharp blazer, leaned over. "Heard TechCrunch has an inside source. They're saying Musk's unveiling something game-changing. You got anything, Carter?" Emily forced a smile, her voice tight. "Working on it." The woman smirked, turning away. Emily's confidence wavered. She wasn't just fighting for a story, she was fighting to prove she belonged here. The light stabilized, and the crowd's buzz returned, louder now. Sarah squeezed Emily's arm. "Relax, Em. You've got this. Just wait for the surprise." Emily nodded, but the pressure was suffocating. Jake's excitement, Sarah's faith, and Karen's ultimatum swirled in her mind. The stage glowed, a spotlight cutting through the darkness. Whatever Elon Musk had planned, it was about to unfold, and Emily had to be ready. As the first notes of music pulsed through the factory, Emily's breath caught. This wasn't just another product launch. Something big was coming, and she could feel it in her bones. She gripped her recorder, her eyes locked on the stage, ready to dive into the unknown. The Tesla factory pulsed with energy, its vast interior vibrating with the low thrum of anticipation. Emily Carter stood in the press section, her cheap recorder clutched like a lifeline, Jake bouncing beside her as he sketched a futuristic Tesla in his notebook. The stage lights had stabilized, casting a warm glow over the crowd, which buzzed with speculation about Elon Musk's mysterious surprise. Sarah leaned close, her voice a whisper over the din. "Told you, Em. This is gonna be epic." Emily nodded, her heart hammering. 3 hours until her editor's midnight deadline, and the weight of Karen's ultimatum, "Don't get scooped," pressed against her chest. The factory floor was a spectacle, its polished concrete gleaming under the lights, robotic arms frozen like silent sentinels along the assembly lines. The air carried a faint metallic tang, mixed with the buzz of hundreds of voices, tech enthusiasts, engineers, and journalists like Emily, all vying for the best angle on whatever was coming. She scanned the crowd, spotting a TechCrunch reporter typing furiously on a laptop. Her stomach twisted. If they had an exclusive, she'd need something extraordinary to compete. Jake tugged her sleeve, his blue eyes wide. "Mom, when's Elon coming out? I wanna see the new thing." Emily forced a smile, brushing his dark hair back. "Soon, bud. Keep your notebook ready, you might get some ideas." His grin was a spark of light in her cloudy mind. She glanced at her phone, 9:10 p.m. time was slipping away, but the crowd's energy was infectious, pulling her into the moment. Sarah nudged her. "Go mingle, Em. Get some quotes for your story. I'll watch Jake." Emily hesitated, her maternal instincts clashing with her ambition. But Jake was already engrossed in his sketches, and Sarah's confident nod was reassuring. "Okay," Emily said, taking a deep breath. "But stay right here, both of you." She slipped into the crowd, her notebook open, her recorder ready. If she could capture the pulse of this event, maybe she'd find the angle Karen wanted. She approached a young engineer in a Tesla Polo, his badge reading, "Mark." "Hey, I'm Emily Carter, freelance journalist," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "What's the vibe tonight? Any guesses on Musk's big surprise?" Mark grinned, his enthusiasm palpable. "Man, it's electric in here. I heard it's not just a car, maybe something totally out there, like a neural interface or a robot demo." Emily scribbled his words, her confidence growing. This was what she loved, chasing stories, hearing people's passions. For the first time all night, she felt like a journalist again. She moved through the crowd, collecting quotes like puzzle pieces. A tech blogger speculated about a solar-powered drone, a fan in a SpaceX hoodie swore it was a Mars rover prototype. Each voice added texture to her story, and Emily's pen flew across her notebook. She imagined her article's lead: in a Fremont factory buzzing with dreams, one question hung in the air: what's Elon Musk hiding up his sleeve? The thought sent a thrill through her, a flicker of the ambition she'd buried under bills and motherhood. But then, a shadow loomed. The slick-haired journalist from earlier, now sporting a wired badge, sidled up. "Carter, right? Heard you're freelancing for peanuts. Hope you've got something good tonight, 'cause the big dogs are circling." His smirk was a knife, cutting into her newfound confidence. Emily's smile tightened. "I've got plenty," she lied, her voice cool. Inside, panic flared. Was he fishing, or did he know something she didn't? The TechCrunch reporter was still typing, and Emily's fear of being scooped surged. Sarah's voice broke through, calling her back to the press section. It's starting." Emily hurried back, her heart racing. Jake was standing on his chair, craning to see the stage. "Mom, look!" The screens flashed with Tesla's logo, and a low bass line rumbled through the speakers. The crowd hushed, a collective intake of breath. Emily's recorder whirred, capturing the moment. This was it, her chance to witness something historic. Then, disaster struck. The main screen flickered, static slicing through the Tesla logo. A murmur rippled through the crowd, and Emily's stomach dropped. Another technical glitch? She checked her phone, 9:30 p.m. If the event stalled, she'd lose time to write, and Karen's deadline loomed like a guillotine. She glanced at Sarah, who shrugged, unfazed. "They'll sort it out. Relax." But Emily couldn't relax. The Wired journalist's taunt echoed in her mind, and the thought of Jake watching her fail again was unbearable. Just as her panic peaked, the screen stabilized, and a cheer erupted. Sarah squeezed her arm. "Told you. Now watch, this is gonna blow your mind." Emily exhaled, her hope reigniting. Jake's excitement was a beacon, pulling her forward. She adjusted her recorder, her eyes locked on the stage. The lights dimmed further, and a single spotlight cut through the darkness, illuminating an empty microphone stand. The crowd's buzz reached a fever pitch, and Emily felt it. A shift, like the air before a storm. Whatever Elon Musk was about to reveal, it was more than a product launch. Emily's instincts screamed that this was her story, the one that could change everything. She leaned forward, her pen poised, ready to capture the moment that would define the night, and maybe her future. The Tesla factory's air crackled with anticipation, the crowd's buzz a living pulse under the gleaming lights. Emily Carter stood in the press section, her recorder humming, her notebook clutched tight. Jake bounced beside her, his eyes locked on the stage, where a single spotlight illuminated an empty microphone stand. Sarah leaned close, her whisper barely audible over the crowd's roar. "Here it comes, Em. Get ready." Emily's heart pounded, her editor's midnight deadline a ticking bomb in her mind. Whatever Elon Musk was about to reveal, it had to be the story that saved her career. The screens above the stage flashed, cycling through images of Tesla's sleek Model Y and Cybertruck, but the crowd's attention was fixed on the empty stage. The bass line from the speakers deepened, a rhythmic heartbeat that set Emily's nerves on edge. She checked her phone, 9:45 p.m. less than 2.5 hours to write and submit her article. The TechCrunch reporter nearby was still typing, and the Wired journalist's earlier taunt, "Hope you've got something good," gnawed at her. She needed something extraordinary, something no one else had. Then, the lights dimmed to near darkness, and a hush swept over the factory. Jake grabbed her arm, whispering, "Mom, it's happening." Emily's recorder whirred, her pen poised. A figure stepped into the spotlight, and the crowd erupted. Elon Musk, in a simple black t-shirt and jeans, raised a hand to quiet the cheers. His presence was electric, his lopsided grin both familiar and disarming. Emily scribbled. "Musk commands the room like a conductor, the crowd his orchestra. Thank you, Fremont." Elon's voice boomed, amplified by the speakers. Tonight's not just about cars or tech. It's about dreaming big. The crowd roared again, Jake clapping wildly. Emily's pulse quickened. Was this the surprise, a motivational speech? She leaned forward, ready to capture every word. But then, Elon paused, his grin widening. Let's try something different, he said, stepping toward the microphone stand. The first notes of a guitar riff filled the factory, soft and familiar. Emily froze, her breath catching. Was that Sweet Caroline? Before she could process it, Elon began to sing, his voice raw but earnest, carrying the classic tune with surprising warmth. The crowd gasped, then exploded into cheers, phones raised to record the surreal moment. Jake's jaw dropped. Mom, he's singing. Sarah laughed, nudging Emily. Told you it was wild. Emily's mind reeled. Elon Musk, the billionaire tech titan, singing a Neil Diamond classic at a Tesla event. It was absurd, human, and utterly captivating. The crowd swayed, joining in, Sweet Caroline, ba ba ba. The factory transformed into a concert hall, the robotic arms and assembly lines fading into the background. Emily scribbled furiously, Musk's voice, imperfect but bold, turns a corporate event into a communal celebration. This was her story, the human side of a larger-than-life figure, a moment no one saw coming. But then, disaster struck. Emily reached for her phone to record a video, only to see the screen go black. Her battery was dead. Panic surged through her, cold and sharp. No, 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 she muttered, shaking the phone as if it might spring back to life. Her recorder was capturing audio, but a video of Elon singing would have been gold, proof of this surreal moment. Without it, her story might fall flat, just another article in a sea of coverage. The TechCrunch reporter was filming, and the Wired journalist's smug face flashed in her mind. Emily's heart sank, the crowd's joy a cruel contrast to her rising dread. She needed this story to stand out, to save her freelance gig and prove she could provide for Jake. She glanced at him, singing along with the crowd, oblivious to her crisis. His happiness was a fleeting comfort, but the clock was ticking, 9:50 p.m. She had to act fast. Sarah, Emily whispered urgently, I need a charger or a recorder, anything. Sarah frowned, patting her pockets. I've got my phone, but it's low too. Hang on. She darted into the crowd, searching for a colleague. Emily's stomach churned. The song was building to its chorus, the crowd's energy peaking, and she was losing her chance to capture it. She scanned the press section, spotting a young blogger with a professional camera. Swallowing her pride, she approached. Hey, I'm Emily Carter. My phone died, can I borrow your recorder for a minute? The blogger hesitated, eyeing her stained blouse. I don't know, I need it for my post. Emily's desperation spilled out. Please, it's for my kid. I'm on a deadline. The blogger softened, handing over a small recorder. Just give it back after. Emily nodded, relief flooding her. She hit record, capturing Elon's voice as it soared through the final verse. The crowd was electric, a sea of raised hands and glowing phone screens, and Emily felt a spark of hope. She could still make this work. As Elon finished, bowing to thunderous applause, Emily returned the recorder, her hands trembling. Sarah reappeared, empty-handed but grinning. You got it, didn't you? Emily nodded, her throat tight. Barely. Jake tugged her sleeve, beaming. That was awesome, Mom. Did you get it for your story? She hugged him, her voice soft. I'm trying, bud. The stage lights dimmed, and Elon stepped back, promising more announcements. Emily's mind raced. She had audio, quotes, and a vivid scene, but no video. Would it be enough? The TechCrunch reporter was still filming, and the clock read 10 p.m. Her story was taking shape, but the stakes were higher than ever. She gripped her notebook, ready to fight for her future, one word at a time. The Tesla factory vibrated with the aftershocks of Elon Musk's performance, the crowd's cheers echoing off the glass walls like a living heartbeat. Emily Carter pushed through the sea of bodies, her heart pounding as she clutched the borrowed recorder, its weight a fragile lifeline. Jake trailed behind, his small hand gripping hers, his voice barely audible over the din. "Mom, that was so cool. Is your story gonna be about Elon singing?" Emily nodded, her mind racing. The clock on the factory's massive screen read 10:05 p.m., less than 2 hours until her editor's midnight deadline. She had audio, notes, and a story taking shape, but the dead phone in her pocket was a gaping hole in her plan. The factory floor was chaos, a tangle of tech enthusiasts chanting, "Sweet Caroline," journalists jostling for interviews, and Tesla employees high-fiving like they'd just won the Super Bowl. The air was thick with the scent of sweat and metal, the stage lights casting a surreal glow over the robotic arms frozen along the assembly lines. Emily's blouse clung to her back, the coffee stain a humiliating badge among the polished press corps. She felt like a fish out of water, but Elon's raw, unexpected performance had ignited something in her, a spark of possibility, a mirror to her own need for a breakthrough. She scanned the crowd for Sarah, who'd vanished into the chaos to find a charger. Jake's excitement was a tether, keeping her grounded, but the TechCrunch reporter's smug face loomed in her memory, filming the performance she'd missed capturing. If she didn't get more material, something unique, her story might blend into the noise of 100 others. Karen's voice rang in her head, "Don't get scooped." Emily's throat tightened. She couldn't let Jake down, not when he believed in her, not when she was so close to proving she could still be the journalist she'd dreamed of. "Mom, look." Jake pointed to a group of Tesla engineers near the stage, their badges glinting as they debated Elon's performance. Emily seized the chance, weaving through the crowd, her recorder raised. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Emily Carter, journalist. What did you think of Elon singing?" A young engineer, her ponytail bouncing, grinned. "It was nuts. He's always pushing boundaries, but this? It's like he's saying, be human, take risks. Totally inspiring." Emily scribbled the quote, her confidence flickering back to life. This was it, the human angle, the story no one else was chasing. But the crowd surged, pushing her back. Jake stumbled, and Emily pulled him close, her heart lurching. "Stay with me, bud," she said, her voice sharp with fear. The chaos was overwhelming, bodies pressing in, phones flashing like a lightning storm. She needed to find Sarah, get a charger, or at least return the borrowed recorder before the blogger changed his mind. Her eyes darted to the press section, where the Wired journalist was interviewing a Tesla exec, his smirk a silent taunt. Emily's insecurity flared, could she really compete with the big dogs? Then, a hand grabbed her arm. Sarah, breathless, held up a portable charger. "Found one. Plug in, quick." Emily's relief was a warm flood, washing away her panic. She connected her phone, the screen flickering to life at 5% battery. "You're a lifesaver," she said, hugging Sarah. Jake cheered, oblivious to the stakes. Sarah grinned. "Told you this night was big. Now get that video before he does something else crazy." Emily nodded, her hope reigniting. With her phone charging, she could record a clip of the crowd's reaction, maybe even catch Elon's next move. She hit record, panning across the factory, the swaying crowd, the glowing Tesla logo, the electric energy still pulsing from Elon's performance. Emily's mind raced, crafting her article's narrative, a billionaire's song, raw and unpolished, reminds a jaded crowd that even dreamers can surprise us. It was bold, personal, and hers. She imagined Jake reading it someday, proud of his mom. For a moment, the weight of her struggles, bills, deadlines, single motherhood, faded. This was her breakthrough, the moment she'd been chasing since she was a girl in Oregon, dreaming of stories that mattered. But the moment shattered. A shout from the stage drew the crowd's attention, and Emily's phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. "No," she gasped, diving to retrieve it. The screen was cracked, but it still worked, barely. Her heart sank, the panic returning. The TechCrunch reporter was still filming, his equipment pristine, while her cobbled-together setup felt like a metaphor for her life. Jake's voice cut through her spiral. "Mom, it's okay. You've got the recorder, right?" His faith was a lifeline, pulling her back. Emily stood, brushing off her jeans, and forced a smile. "You're right, bud. Let's keep going." She adjusted the recorder, capturing the crowd's chants as Elon reappeared, teasing more announcements. The clock read 10:15 p.m., and her deadline loomed, but Emily felt a shift. Elon's performance wasn't just a story, it was a mirror, reflecting her own fight to break through. She'd lost her dad, her dreams, and nearly her career, but she was still here, chasing the moment. The factory's lights pulsed, the crowd's energy a living thing. Emily gripped Jake's hand, her resolve hardening. She'd write this story, cracked phone and all, and make it sing, just like Elon had. Emily Carter sat cross-legged on the cold concrete of the Tesla factory's press section, her cracked phone tethered to Sarah's borrowed charger, its screen casting a faint glow. The crowd's energy still buzzed around her, a fading echo of Elon Musk's unexpected rendition of "Sweet Caroline." Jake was beside her, sketching furiously in his notebook, his Tesla t-shirt wrinkled from the night's chaos. The factory's lights pulsed softly, the robotic arms along the assembly lines glinting like silent guardians. Emily's fingers flew across her phone, drafting her article as the clock ticked toward her editor's midnight deadline, 10:45 p.m., less than an hour and a half to go. Her article was taking shape, the words flowing with a clarity she hadn't felt in months. "In a Fremont factory pulsing with dreams, Elon Musk did the unthinkable," he sang. "Sweet Caroline" wasn't just a song, it was a reminder that even billionaires can surprise us with their humanity. She wove in quotes from the engineer, the tech blogger, and her own observations of the crowd's electric response. The borrowed recorder's audio, though grainy, captured the raw emotion of the moment. For the first time all night, Emily felt like she was winning. This story wasn't just good. It was hers, born from the chaos of a dead phone and a desperate scramble. She hit send at 11:02 p.m., emailing the draft to Karen with a subject line, "Tesla event, Musk surprise sings." Her heart pounded as she stared at the cracked screen, waiting for confirmation. A minute later, her phone pinged. Karen's reply was short but electric, "Solid lead, Carter. This could work. Polish it by tomorrow noon for the front page." Emily's breath caught, a grin spreading across her face. The front page? She hadn't dared hope for that since her college days. She turned to Jake, ruffling his hair. "We did it, bud. Mom's got a story." Jake looked up, his blue eyes bright but distant. "That's awesome, Mom. Can we go home soon?" His voice was quiet, lacking the spark he'd had earlier. Emily's grin faltered. He'd been so excited about Elon's performance, but now he seemed off. She chalked it up to the late hour, but a nagging worry took root. Had she been too focused on her story to notice something was wrong? The factory's buzz faded into the background, replaced by the familiar weight of mom guilt. Sarah plopped down beside them, her Tesla badge glinting. "You nailed it, Em. I knew you'd get the story." Her enthusiasm was a warm blanket, wrapping Emily in hope. "Thanks to you," Emily said, handing back the charger. "I owe you big time." Sarah waved it off. "Just keep writing. You're too good to quit." Emily's chest swelled. For the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe, like she might actually pull this off. A front-page story could mean more assignments, maybe even a staff job. She pictured taking Jake to the exploratorium again, no longer scraping by for tickets. But the high didn't last. As the crowd thinned, Emily noticed Jake's shoulders slumped, his notebook closed. She knelt beside him, her voice soft. "Hey, bud, you okay? You were so pumped about Elon earlier." Jake shrugged, avoiding her eyes. "Yeah, it was cool. Just tired." His words were a punch to her gut. She'd dragged him here, chasing her own dreams, but had she missed something important? The memory of her dad's absence flashed in her mind, those nights waiting on the porch, hoping he'd come back. She couldn't let Jake feel that kind of distance, not from her. Emily's phone buzzed, snapping her back. A text from Karen, rival outlets pushing a video-heavy piece. "Yours better stand out. Noon tomorrow." The hope in her chest curdled into panic. Her article was strong, but without video, it might not compete with TechCrunch's polished coverage. The Wired journalists' taunt echoed. "The big dogs are circling." She glanced at the stage, where Elon was now fielding questions about Tesla's future, his voice calm but commanding. The crowd hung on his every word, but Emily's focus was split, between her story's success and Jake's quiet withdrawal. She stood, pulling Jake to his feet. "Let's head home, bud. Big night." He nodded, but his silence was louder than the crowd's earlier cheers. Sarah walked them to the parking lot, the Fremont night cool against their skin. The factory's glass facade glowed, a beacon of innovation that felt both inspiring and unreachable. Emily's cracked phone buzzed again, Sarah texting, "You've got this, Em. Call me tomorrow." The encouragement was a lifeline, but Jake's distance loomed larger. As they climbed into the Honda, the engine rattling to life, Emily's mind churned. Her article was a win, a glimpse of the career she'd dreamed of, but Jake's quietness was a new weight. She glanced at him in the rearview mirror, his head resting against the window, his notebook clutched like a shield. The factory's lights faded behind them, but the night's energy lingered, a mix of triumph and unease. Emily gripped the wheel, her resolve hardening. She'd polish her story, make it sing, but she'd also figure out what was going on with Jake. She had to, for both of them. The radio crackled, a DJ recapping the event. Elon Musk just turned Fremont upside down with a song. Stay tuned for more. Emily smiled faintly. She'd captured that moment, against all odds. But as Jake's silence filled the car, she knew her real challenge was just beginning. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Emily Carter's apartment was quiet, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint glow of her laptop screen. It was just past midnight, and Jake was asleep in his room, his Tesla notebook tucked under his pillow. The adrenaline from the Tesla event still coursed through Emily, her article about Elon Musk's surprising performance sent and praised by her editor, Karen. The promise of a front-page story lingered like a fragile dream, but Jake's distant behavior in the car ride home gnawed at her. She sat at the kitchen table, her cracked phone beside a half-empty coffee mug, trying to savor the victory. Then, the mailbox clattered. Frowning, Emily glanced at the clock, 12:15 a.m. Who delivered mail this late? She shuffled to the door in her worn slippers, the Fremont night air cool against her skin as she retrieved a single envelope from the mailbox. No stamp, no return address, just her name scrawled in a familiar, slanted handwriting, Emily Carter. Her heart stopped. She hadn't seen that handwriting in 16 years, not since her father, Tom Reynolds, left her waiting on their Oregon porch, his guitar case the last thing she saw before he vanished. Back at the table, Emily's hands trembled as she tore open the envelope. The letter was short, written on yellowed paper that smelled faintly of cigarette smoke. Emily, I'm in San Francisco. I know it's been years, and I don't deserve your time. But I'd like to see you. I'm sorry for everything. Tom. A phone number was scribbled at the bottom. Emily's breath hitched, her mind spiraling back to that summer in Oregon, the pine-scented air, her mom's tear-streaked face. Tom had been a musician, a dreamer whose promises were as fleeting as his songs. Now, he was back, and Emily didn't know whether to scream or cry. She shoved the letter into a drawer, her chest tight. The apartment felt smaller, the walls closing in with memories she'd buried. The Tesla event's triumph, her article, Karen's praise, faded under the weight of this new shock. Why now? After 16 years of silence, what could Tom possibly want? She pictured Jake, sleeping just down the hall, and her resolve hardened. She'd built a life without Tom, for herself and her son. But the letter's words lingered, a crack in her armor. Emily opened her laptop, hoping work would anchor her. Karen's email glowed on the screen, Polish by noon, Carter. This could be big. She tried to focus, tweaking her article's lead. Elon Musk's voice, raw and unscripted, turned a Fremont factory into a stage for dreamers. But her thoughts kept drifting to Tom. Had he seen her bylines? Did he know about Jake? The idea of him waltzing back into her life felt like a betrayal of the strength she'd clawed from his absence. A soft knock on the door startled her. Sarah, still in her Tesla Blazer, stood there, holding 2 cups of gas station coffee. Couldn't sleep, Sarah said, stepping inside. Figured you'd be up freaking out about your story. Emily forced a smile, grateful for the distraction. Sarah's blonde ponytail was frazzled, her green eyes bright despite the hour. She set the coffee down, noticing Emily's tense expression. What's wrong, Em? You nailed the article, why the long face? Emily hesitated, then pulled the letter from the drawer. Sarah read it, her eyes widening. Your dad? After all this time? What the hell? Emily's laugh was bitter. Yeah, that's what I thought. He says he's sorry, wants to meet. Like that fixes anything. Sarah squeezed her hand, her voice soft. You don't have to decide tonight. But maybe, hear him out. For closure, if nothing else. Emily's throat tightened. Closure sounded nice, but the pain of Tom's abandonment was a raw wound, and she wasn't sure she could face it. For a moment, hope flickered. Sarah's presence, like always, was a lifeline, reminding Emily of the dreams they'd shared in college, Sarah building tech, Emily telling stories. Tonight's success at the Tesla event was proof she could still chase those dreams. She sipped the coffee, its warmth grounding her. You're right, she said finally. I'll deal with it later. Right now, I've got a story to polish. Sarah grinned, raising her cup. That's my girl. You're gonna kill this. But as Sarah left, the letter's weight returned. Emily glanced at Jake's bedroom door, picturing his sleeping face, so like her mom's. She couldn't let Tom's shadow touch him. Yet, a part of her, the part that still remembered her dad's guitar strumming Sweet Caroline under Oregon stars, wondered if he'd changed. The parallel to Elon's performance hit her hard, a man known for machines revealing his human side. Could Tom have a human side left, too? Her phone buzzed, shattering her thoughts. A text from Karen, rival piece just dropped. Videos going viral. Your angle better be unique, Carter. Panic surged, the high of her article's success crumbling. The TechCrunch video of Elon singing was probably racking up views, while her cracked phone and borrowed recorder felt like relics. The clock read 12:45 a.m. She had 11 hours to make her story stand out, but Tom's letter loomed, a new threat to her focus. Emily closed her laptop, her eyes burning. The Fremont night was quiet outside, the Tesla factory's glow a distant memory. She'd fought for her story tonight, but Tom's return was a battle she hadn't prepared for. As she crawled into bed, the letter's words echoed, I'm sorry for everything. She didn't know if she could forgive him, but one thing was clear, she'd protect Jake, and her dreams, no matter what. The San Francisco cafe smelled of roasted coffee and second chances, its dim lights casting soft shadows over worn wooden tables. Emily Carter sat in a corner booth, her hands wrapped around a chipped mug, the steam rising like ghosts of her past. It was Saturday afternoon, the day after the Tesla event, and her article about Elon Musk's surprising performance was due for final edits by noon. But her focus was fractured, her mind tethered to the letter she'd found last night. "Emily, I'm in San Francisco. I'd like to see you. I'm sorry." Tom Reynolds, her father, was due any minute, and the thought made her stomach churn. Outside, the city buzzed with life, cable cars clanging, tourists snapping photos of the bay. Emily had left Jake with Sarah for the afternoon, promising him a trip to the park later. His quiet demeanor from last night still haunted her, but she'd deal with that after this. Facing Tom was a hurdle she hadn't crossed in 16 years, not since he'd walked out on her and her mom in their small Oregon town. The memory of his guitar case swinging as he left was burned into her mind, and now, at 28, she wasn't sure she was ready to see him again. The cafe door jingled, and a man stepped in, tall, gaunt, with graying hair and a faded denim jacket. Tom. His eyes, the same hazel as hers, scanned the room and landed on her. Emily's breath caught, her fingers tightening around the mug. He approached slowly, like he was walking on glass, and slid into the booth across from her. "Emily," he said, his voice rough but soft, like gravel smoothed by time. "You look grown up." She didn't smile. 16 years will do that. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the cafe's warmth. Tom flinched, his hands folding on the table, revealing calloused fingers that spoke of years spent strumming strings. Emily's chest ached. Those hands had once taught her chords on a beat-up guitar, back when she believed in his promises. "I don't expect forgiveness," Tom said, his eyes dropping to the table. "I just wanted to see you, to explain." Emily's jaw tightened. Explain? She'd spent years imagining this moment, rehearsing her anger, but now it felt heavy, like a stone she couldn't throw. "Why now?" she asked, her voice low. "Why show up after all this time?" Tom sighed, rubbing his neck. "I was a mess back then, Em. Chasing gigs, drowning in debt. I thought leaving would spare you and your mom my failures." His words hit like a punch, stirring memories of her mom's late nights working to keep them afloat. Emily's eyes stung, but she blinked back tears. "You didn't spare us. You broke us." The cafe's hum faded, the clink of cups and murmur of voices drowned out by her pain. Tom's face crumpled, and for a moment, Emily saw the man who'd sung "Sweet Caroline" to her under Oregon stars, his voice full of dreams. The parallel to Elon's performance last night hit her hard, a man known for ambition revealing a human side. Could Tom have that side, too? She wanted to believe it, but the hurt ran deep. "I was a coward," Tom admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I kept playing, small bars, nowhere towns. But I followed your work, Em. Your articles, you're good. Like your mom said you'd be." The mention of her mom, Linda, was a spark in Emily's chest. "Don't talk about her," she snapped. "You don't get to." Tom nodded, his hands trembling. "Fair. I'm sober now. Been for 2 years. I want to make things right." Hope flickered, fragile and unwanted. Emily thought of Sarah's advice, hear him out. Foreclosure. She wanted to slam the door on Tom, but his sincerity, raw, like Elon's singing, gave her pause. She saw her own passion in his eyes, the same drive that had pushed her to chase her story last night. Journalism was her music, her way of making sense of the world, just as Tom's guitar had been his. But could she trust him not to vanish again? The cafe's warmth wrapped around them, a fleeting truce. Emily softened, just a fraction. "Why San Francisco?" she asked. Tom's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile. "Heard about the Tesla event. Figured you might be there, covering it. I was proud, Em. Her heart twisted. Pride from a man who'd left her was a bitter pill. But it also lit a spark. Had he really followed her work? Did he see her as more than the girl he'd abandoned? Her phone buzzed, shattering the moment. A text from Karen, "Your article's strong, but TechCrunch's video is killing it. Add more depth by noon, or we're going with their piece." Panic surged, the high of Tom's confession colliding with the threat of losing her front page shot. Emily's hands shook as she typed a quick reply, "Working on it." She looked at Tom, her voice tight. "I have to go." "Work." He nodded, sliding a napkin with his number across the table. "I'm staying at a motel nearby. Call me, Em. Please." Emily stood, the napkin burning in her hand. The cafe's bustle returned, baristas calling orders, jazz humming from a speaker. She wanted to hate Tom, but his words lingered, a crack in her defenses. As she stepped into the San Francisco sun, the city's energy felt both exhilarating and overwhelming. She had a story to save, a son to reconnect with, and now, a father to confront. The stakes were higher than ever, and Emily wasn't sure she could carry it all. Jake Carter's bedroom was a shrine to the future, its walls plastered with Tesla posters and SpaceX blueprints torn from magazines. A battered desk held a half-built model rocket, its plastic pieces scattered among colored pencils and a dog-eared copy of Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the quest for a fantastic future. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow over the Fremont apartment, but Jake's mood was anything but bright. He sat cross-legged on the floor, his science notebook open, sketching a dome-covered Mars colony inspired by Elon's performance at the Tesla event last night. Yet his pencil moved slowly, his heart heavy with something he couldn't name. From the kitchen, Emily's voice floated in, tense and distracted as she typed furiously on her laptop. "Jake, you okay in there? Need anything?" Jake didn't answer right away. He loved his mom, but lately, she felt far away, always stressed about work or bills. Last night at the Tesla factory, watching Elon sing, "Sweet Caroline," had been the coolest thing ever, like seeing a superhero become human. Jake wanted to tell her how it made him feel, how it sparked ideas for his own inventions, but she'd been too busy chasing her story. He flipped to a page in his notebook labeled Tesla Ideas, filled with drawings of solar-powered drones and electric skateboards. Elon's performance had lit a fire in him, a belief that he could build something big someday, just like his hero. But the memory of his mom's frantic scramble, her dead phone, her panicked whispers, made him feel small. She was fighting so hard, but for what? To pay the bills? To keep their creaky Honda running? Jake wanted to help, but he was just a kid, and the weight of that truth pressed against his chest. "Jake?" Emily's voice was closer now, her shadow falling across his doorway. She stepped in, her chestnut hair messy, her eyes tired but soft. "You've been quiet all day. What's up, bud?" Jake shrugged, his pencil pausing over a sketch of a Tesla battery. "Just drawing." Emily knelt beside him, her coffee-stained blouse a reminder of last night's chaos. "Those are amazing," she said, pointing to his dome sketch. "Is that Mars?" Jake nodded, a flicker of pride breaking through his gloom. "Yeah. Like Elon's colony idea. I figured, if he can sing in front of everybody, maybe I can make something cool, too." Emily's smile faltered, and Jake saw it, the guilt in her eyes. She'd been so caught up in her article, she hadn't noticed how much the event meant to him. "That's incredible, Jake," she said, her voice thick. "Tell me more." He hesitated, then let the words spill out. When Elon sang, it was like, he wasn't just a billionaire. He was real, you know. Like he's not afraid to try stuff, even if it's weird. "I want to be like that." His voice cracked, and he looked away, embarrassed. Emily's heart sank. She'd been so focused on her own breakthrough, her article, her deadline, Tom's letter, that she'd missed this. Jake wasn't just a kid excited about Tesla, he was chasing dreams of his own, and she'd been too distracted to see it. The room felt alive with Jake's passion, his posters glowing in the sunlight, his model rocket a testament to his ambition. Emily touched his shoulder, her voice soft. "You're already like that, bud. You've got big ideas, bigger than mine." Jake's eyes met hers, hopeful but uncertain. "You think I could really make something? Like Elon?" Emily nodded, her throat tight. "Absolutely. And I'm gonna help you, okay? No more missing this stuff." For a moment, hope bloomed. Jake grinned, flipping through his notebook to show her a sketch of a solar-powered car. "This one's got panels that fold out, like wings." Emily laughed, the sound easing the tension in her chest. This was the Jake she loved, bright, curious, unstoppable. She saw her own dreams reflected in his, the same fire that had pushed her to chase her Tesla story. Maybe she hadn't failed him yet. But the moment shattered. Her phone buzzed on the desk, Karen's name flashing. Emily's stomach dropped as she read the text, "Your article's good, but TechCrunch's video is dominating. Add a personal angle by noon, or we're bumping you to page 3. The high of Jake's excitement crashed into panic. Page 3. That was a death sentence for her freelance gig. She needed this story to shine, to prove she could provide for Jake. But his sketches, his dreams, were right in front of her, and she'd promised to be present. "Mom." Jake's voice was small, sensing her shift. Emily forced a smile, shoving the phone into her pocket. "Just work, bud. Let's keep talking about your car." But her mind was racing. She had to rewrite, to find a way to weave her own story, her struggles, her fight, into the Tesla piece without losing its heart. And now, Tom's letter burned in her mind, a reminder of the past she couldn't escape. Could she balance it all, her career, her son, her ghosts? The apartment's quiet hum felt oppressive, the Fremont afternoon sun too bright against Jake's posters. Emily gripped his notebook, her resolve hardening. She'd make time for his dreams, even if it meant staying up all night to save her article. As Jake chattered about solar panels, she saw Elon's performance in a new light, a call to be bold, for herself and for him. But with Karen's deadline looming and Tom's shadow lurking, the stakes felt higher than ever. Emily Carter's laptop screen glowed in the dim light of her Fremont apartment, the cursor blinking like a heartbeat on her revised article about Elon Musk's Tesla event performance. It was Saturday morning, hours before her editor Karen's noon deadline, and the kitchen smelled of burnt toast and desperation. Jake was in his room, his muffled voice reciting facts about Tesla batteries, but his distance from yesterday lingered in Emily's mind. So did Tom's letter, tucked in a drawer but heavy on her heart. She'd poured everything into this article, her observations of Elon's raw rendition of Sweet Caroline, quotes from the crowd, and a personal angle about chasing dreams despite setbacks. It was her best work in years, but doubt gnawed at her. The apartment was quiet, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant buzz of Fremont traffic. Emily's cracked phone sat beside her, its fractured screen a reminder of the Tesla event's chaos. She'd woven her own story into the article, her struggle as a single mom, her fight to prove herself, inspired by Elon's bold performance. Musk's song wasn't just a moment, it was a mirror, reflecting the courage to keep going, she'd written. It felt raw, honest, but would it be enough to outshine TechCrunch's viral video? Her phone buzzed at 10:30 a.m., Karen's name flashing. Emily's stomach dropped as she opened the email. "Carter, your piece has heart, but it's too personal. Readers want tech, not your life story. We're going with a staff writer's take. Sorry." The words hit like a sledgehammer. Rejected. Not even page 3, nothing. Emily's vision blurred, tears stinging as she reread the email. Her front-page dream, her chance to save her freelance gig, was gone. She'd failed, Jake, herself, her mom's belief in her. The apartment's walls closed in, the air thick with defeat. She slammed her laptop shut, her hands trembling. "Damn it," she whispered, wiping her eyes. Jake's voice from his room stopped, and she heard his footsteps. "Mom." He stood in the doorway, his Tesla t-shirt rumpled, his blue eyes wide with concern. "You okay?" Emily forced a smile, her voice cracking. "Just work, bud." "I'm fine." But she wasn't. The rejection was a knife, cutting through the hope she'd clung to since the Tesla event. She'd promised Jake a better life, but now she was back to square one. Jake frowned, clutching his science notebook. "Was it your Elon story? I thought it was gonna be awesome." His faith was a lifeline, but it only deepened her guilt. She'd dragged him to the event, ignored his dreams for her own, and now she had nothing to show for it. "It didn't work out," she said, her voice hollow. "But we'll figure it out, okay?" Jake nodded, but his eyes darted away, and he retreated to his room. Emily's heart sank. She was losing him, just like she'd lost her dad's promises, her mom's support, her career. She stood, pacing the kitchen, trying to shake the panic. Sarah's encouragement, Tom's letter, Jake's sketches, they swirled in her mind, a storm of what-ifs. She needed to call Karen, beg for another chance, but her phone buzzed again. A text from Sarah, "How's the article? You're killing it, right?" Emily couldn't reply, the shame too heavy. She sank into a chair, her eyes falling on Jake's open notebook on the counter, a sketch of a Mars dome, labeled, "For Mom." Her throat tightened. He was still dreaming, even if she'd stopped. Then, a crash from Jake's room jolted her. "Jake." She rushed in, finding his model rocket on the floor, its pieces scattered. His window was open, his backpack gone. A note on his bed read, "Gone to Tesla factory. Wanna be like Elon. Back soon." Emily's heart stopped, panic flooding her. The factory was miles away, across busy Fremont streets. Jake was 10, impulsive, inspired by Elon's boldness, but this was reckless. She grabbed her keys, her phone, her breath ragged. She'd failed as a journalist, but she couldn't fail as a mom. The Fremont afternoon was bright, the sun mocking her fear as she sped toward the Tesla factory. The streets blurred, cars honking as she wove through traffic, her cracked phone buzzing with missed calls from Sarah. She pictured Jake, small and determined, walking alone, chasing a dream she'd neglected to nurture. The factory's glass facade loomed ahead, a beacon of hope and dread. She parked haphazardly, sprinting to the entrance, her voice hoarse as she shouted, "Jake." The security guard recognized her from the event. "Ma'am, you okay?" Emily's words tumbled out. "My son, he's 10, he ran here. Have you seen him?" The guard frowned, radioing for help. "No kids reported, but we'll look." Emily's legs shook, the factory's hum a cruel reminder of last night's triumph. She scanned the parking lot, the crowd from last night gone, replaced by a quiet weekend shift. Where was he? Her phone buzzed, Sarah, calling. I'm at the factory gate. Found Jake. He's safe." Relief crashed over Emily, followed by a wave of anger and fear. She ran to the gate, spotting Sarah's blonde ponytail and Jake's small figure, his backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked up, his face defiant but scared. "I just wanted to see it again," he mumbled. "Like Elon." Emily pulled him into a hug, tears spilling. "You scared me, bud. Don't ever do that again." The factory's shadow stretched over them, a symbol of dreams and risks. Emily's article was dead, but Jake was here, and that was enough, for now. But as she held him, Karen's rejection and Tom's letter loomed, new battles waiting. She'd lost one fight, but she wouldn't lose her son. The Fremont sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the Tesla factory's parking lot as Emily Carter knelt beside Jake, her arms wrapped around him. His small frame trembled against her, his backpack still slung over one shoulder, his Tesla t-shirt damp with sweat from his impulsive trek to the factory. The relief of finding him safe mingled with the raw fear of his disappearance, and Emily's heart pounded, her tears soaking into his hair. Sarah stood nearby, her blonde ponytail swaying as she spoke softly to the security guard, giving them space. The factory's glass facade loomed behind, its glow a reminder of last night's triumph and today's failures, Karen's rejection of her article, Tom's letter, and now Jake's reckless act. Jake, why? Emily's voice broke, her hands cupping his face. His blue eyes, so like her mom's, were wide with guilt and defiance. I just wanted to be like Elon, he mumbled, clutching his science notebook. He sang, even though it was weird, and everybody loved it. I thought, maybe I could be brave, too. Emily's chest ached. His words echoed her own desperation at the Tesla event, her scramble to capture a story that could save her career. She'd been chasing her own dreams, blind to his. The parking lot was quiet, the weekend shifts hum a faint backdrop. Emily sat back on her heels, the gravel biting into her knees. You scared me, bud. You can't run off like that. Jake's lip quivered. I know. You're always so busy, Mom. I thought maybe the factory would have answers. His honesty was a knife, cutting through her guilt. She'd been so focused on her article, on proving herself, that she'd missed his need to be seen. The memory of her dad, Tom, leaving her waiting on that Oregon porch flashed in her mind. She wouldn't let Jake feel that abandonment. I'm here now, she said, her voice firm despite the tears. And I'm listening. Tell me about your dreams, okay? All of them. Jake hesitated, then opened his notebook, pointing to a sketch of a solar-powered car. This one's for Mars. It's got wings that unfold for more panels. His voice grew animated, the spark returning to his eyes. Emily listened, really listened, seeing the boy who idolized Elon not just as her son, but as a dreamer in his own right. The factory's shadow stretched over them, a symbol of ambition, and Emily felt a shift, a resolve to be the mom he needed, not just the journalist she wanted to be. For a moment, hope bloomed. The Fremont air was cool, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Jake's sketches were a lifeline, pulling Emily back from the edge of her failure. She hugged him again, whispering, "We're gonna build those dreams together, bud. I promise." Jake's smile was small but real, and Emily clung to it, a beacon in her storm. She thought of Elon's performance, raw and fearless, and saw it in Jake, the courage to chase what mattered, no matter how big or scary. But the high didn't last. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, Karen's name flashing like a warning. Emily's stomach dropped as she read the text, "Noon deadline's final, Carter. Your piece needs more edge to compete. Don't blow this." The rejection from earlier stung anew, and the pressure to rewrite her article by noon, less than 2 hours away, felt suffocating. She'd poured her heart into that story, weaving in her own struggles, but Karen wanted more. And now, with Jake's scare fresh in her mind, Emily wasn't sure she could deliver. She stood, pulling Jake to his feet. "Let's get home, bud. We've got work to do." Sarah joined them, her green eyes soft with concern. "You okay, Em?" Emily nodded, her resolve hardening. "I will be. I'm rewriting the article, making it about courage, like Jake's." Sarah grinned, squeezing her shoulder. "That's the Em I know. Go get Em." Jake looked up, hopeful. "You're gonna write about my car, Mom?" Emily laughed, the sound shaky but genuine. "Maybe a little. Mostly about being brave, like you and Elon." As they climbed into the Honda, the engine rattling to life, Emily's mind raced. She'd rewrite the article, focusing on the human side of ambition, Elon's song, Jake's dreams, her own fight to keep going. It was risky, more personal than Karen might want, but it was true. The factory faded in the rearview mirror, its lights a reminder of the night that had changed her. She glanced at Jake, his notebook open again, and felt a surge of determination. She'd failed once, but she wouldn't fail him. The Fremont streets blurred past, the sun sinking lower. Emily's phone buzzed again, Sarah texting, "You've got this. Call if you need me." The encouragement was a spark, but the deadline loomed, and Tom's letter still burned in her mind. She'd face him later, but for now, her focus was Jake and the story. As they pulled into their apartment complex, Emily made a silent vow: she'd rewrite her article, make it sing with the courage she saw in her son, and prove she could balance both, motherhood and dreams. The clock was ticking, but Emily was ready to fight. The San Francisco Café was a cocoon of warmth, its walls lined with faded posters of jazz legends, the air thick with the scent of espresso and nostalgia. Emily Carter sat in the same corner booth where she'd met Tom Reynolds 2 days ago, her hands fidgeting with a napkin. It was Sunday afternoon, hours after her heart-stopping scare with Jake running to the Tesla factory and her frantic rewrite of her article, due by noon tomorrow. Jake was at home with Sarah, working on his model rocket, but Emily's mind was a storm. Tom's letter, Jake's dreams, and Karen's ultimatum swirled together, threatening to drown her. Tom had texted her that morning, asking for another chance to talk. Against her better judgment, she'd agreed, driven by a nagging curiosity and Sarah's advice: foreclosure, M. Now, as the cafe's door jingled, Tom stepped in, his gaunt frame and denim jacket unchanged, but his hazel eyes, so like hers, held a flicker of hope. He carried a worn guitar case, its leather cracked like the promises he'd broken 16 years ago. Emily's chest tightened, the memory of his abandonment sharp as ever. But Jake's words yesterday, about being brave like Elon, echoed in her mind. Maybe she could be brave, too. Tom slid into the booth, setting the guitar case beside him. "Thanks for coming, Em," he said, his voice rough but earnest. "I didn't think you would." Emily's jaw clenched, her words clipped. "I almost didn't." "Say what you need to say." Tom nodded, his hands trembling as he opened the case, revealing a battered acoustic guitar. "I wrote something," he said. "For you and your mom." Figured words alone wouldn't cut it. Emily's breath caught. "A song?" The cafe's hum, clinking cups, soft jazz, faded as Tom strummed a chord, the sound warm and mournful. His fingers, calloused from years of playing, moved with a quiet grace, and his voice, gravelly but tender, filled the space. "I left you in the starlight, chasing dreams that weren't mine. Regret's my only companion, wishing I could turn back time." The lyrics were raw, a confession woven into melody, and Emily's eyes stung. She saw her 12-year-old self on that Oregon porch, waiting for a father who never came back. The cafe's dim lights cast Tom's face in soft shadows, his wrinkles etched with years of regret. Emily's anger wavered, replaced by a reluctant recognition. His song, like Elon's "Sweet Caroline" at the Tesla event, was a glimpse of humanity, a man known for leaving revealing his heart. She thought of her own article, rewritten to capture the courage of dreamers, inspired by Jake and Elon. Tom's music mirrored that, a parallel that shook her. Was he, like her, trying to reclaim something lost? When the song ended, the cafe's sounds rushed back, a gentle applause from nearby patrons breaking the spell. Tom set the guitar down, his eyes searching hers. "I know it doesn't fix things," he said. "But I needed you to know I'm sorry. I was running from failure, not from you." Emily's throat tightened, her voice barely a whisper. "You left us, Dad. Mom worked herself to death because of you." Tom's face crumpled, and for the first time, Emily saw not the man who'd abandoned her, but a broken dreamer, much like herself. Hope flickered, fragile but real. She thought of Jake's sketches, his Mars dome and solar car, and how she promised to support his dreams. Maybe Tom deserved a chance to try, too, not forgiveness, not yet, but a step toward understanding. "Why music?" she asked, her voice softer. Tom's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile. It's all I ever knew, Em. Like your writing, it's your way of making sense of the world. I saw your Tesla article online. It's good. Real good. Emily's heart skipped. He'd read her work. The compliment, from a man she'd hated for years, was disarming. She saw her own passion in his eyes, the same fire that drove her to chase her story at the Tesla event. But her phone buzzed, shattering the moment. Karen's text, "Your rewrite better be bulletproof, Carter. Noon tomorrow, or you're out." Panic surged, the high of Tom's song colliding with the threat of losing her career. Her article was strong, but TechCrunch's video was still dominating, and Karen's patience was thin. "I have to go," Emily said, standing, her voice tight. Tom nodded, sliding a napkin with his number across the table. "I'm here, Em. If you want me to meet your boy, I'd like that." The mention of Jake was a jolt. She wasn't ready for that, not with her son's dreams so fragile. But Tom's song lingered, a crack in her defenses. She pocketed the napkin, the cafe's warmth wrapping around her like a hesitant embrace. Outside, San Francisco's streets buzzed with life, the bay glinting under the afternoon sun. Emily's mind raced, her article, Jake's trust, Tom's redemption. She'd rewritten her story to focus on courage, but now she saw it in a new light: Tom's song, Jake's sketches, Elon's performance. They were all acts of daring, of showing up despite the risk. As she drove back to Fremont, the Tesla factory's silhouette in the distance, Emily's resolve hardened. She'd polish her article, make it sing with the truth of dreamers, and protect Jake's future, no matter what it took. Emily Carter's apartment was a battlefield of hope and exhaustion, the kitchen table littered with coffee mugs, crumpled napkins, and her open laptop. It was Monday morning, the Fremont sun filtering through the blinds, casting stripes across Jake's science notebook, which lay open to a sketch of a solar-powered car. Emily's cracked phone buzzed incessantly, notifications piling up, but she ignored them, her fingers trembling as she put the final touches on her rewritten article. The deadline, Karen's noon ultimatum, was an hour away, and the weight of her failures, from Jake's runaway scare to Tom's wrenching song, pressed against her chest. She'd stayed up all night, weaving a new narrative into her Tesla event piece. Elon Musk's Sweet Caroline wasn't just a performance, it was a call to courage, for a billionaire to sing, for a boy to dream, for a mother to keep fighting. She'd poured her heart into it, blending Jake's Mars colony sketches, her own struggle as a single mom, and the raw humanity of Elon's moment. It was risky, personal, but it felt true, like Tom's guitar chords in that San Francisco cafe, echoing regret and redemption. Emily hit send at 11:03 a.m., her breath held, praying it was enough to outshine TechCrunch's viral video. Jake shuffled into the kitchen, his Tesla t-shirt wrinkled, his eyes bright with a new idea. "Mom, I added a battery to my car sketch. Wanna see?" Emily smiled, her heart swelling despite her exhaustion. "Show me, bud." He flipped open his notebook, pointing to a detailed diagram. "It stores solar power for night driving." His enthusiasm was a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge of doubt. She'd promised to support his dreams, and this article, her best yet, was for him as much as for her. Her phone buzzed again, Karen's name flashing. Emily's stomach lurched as she opened the email. "Carter, this is it. Your piece is raw, real, and perfect for the front page. It's live now, check the site. You're back in the game." Relief flooded her, tears spilling as she laughed, a shaky, disbelieving sound. She pulled up the newspaper's website, and there it was, Elon's song, A Mother's Fight, The Heart of Tesla's Night, by Emily Carter, front and center. The comments section was exploding, readers praising the personal angle, calling it inspiring and relatable. It was going viral, retweeted by Bay Area influencers and even some Tesla employees. "Jake, look." Emily turned her laptop toward him, her voice trembling with pride. His eyes widened, a grin splitting his face. "You're famous, Mom." She laughed, pulling him into a hug. "Not quite, Bud, but we're getting there." The apartment felt lighter, the Fremont morning sun brighter. For the first time in years, Emily saw a path forward, a staff job, maybe, or at least steady freelance work. She pictured taking Jake to the exploratorium, no longer scraping by, his dreams within reach. Sarah's text came next, "You're blowing up. Articles everywhere. Drinks on me tonight." Emily's heart soared. Sarah had been her anchor, just like Jake, and this victory was theirs, too. But as she scrolled through the comments, a shadow crept in. Some readers questioned her personal angle, too sappy for a tech story. Others praised TechCrunch's video for its polish. Emily's confidence wavered. Had she gone too far? Karen's email had been a win, but the pressure to keep proving herself lingered, a new high to climb. Then Jake tugged her sleeve. "Mom, there's another Tesla event next week. Can we go? Maybe Elon will sing again." His excitement was infectious, and Emily nodded, her resolve hardening. "You bet, Bud. We'll be there." The thought of returning to the Tesla factory, where this journey began, felt like a full-circle moment. She'd faced her fears, Tom's return, Jake's scare, her own failures, and come out stronger. Elon's performance had been a spark, but Jake's dreams and her own grit had fueled this fire. They drove to the Tesla factory that evening, not for an event, but just to see it, to feel its energy. The Fremont dusk painted the sky in purples and golds, the factory's glass walls glowing like a beacon. Jake pressed his face to the car window, his notebook open. "I'm gonna build something big, Mom. Like Elon." Emily smiled, her heart full. "You will, Bud. And I'll be right there with you." The factory's hum was faint, but its promise was loud. Emily's article had gone viral, earning her a job offer from a local outlet, a chance to rebuild her career. She thought of Tom's song, his regret, and her own courage to face him. She hadn't called him yet, but the napkin with his number sat in her pocket, a possibility she wasn't ready to dismiss. For now, she had Jake, her story, and a future that felt possible again. As they drove home, the radio buzzed with news of her article, a DJ calling it, "the heart of Fremont's Tesla moment." Emily gripped the wheel, her eyes misty. She'd turned a billionaire's song into a story of her own, and it had changed everything. The road ahead was uncertain, but with Jake beside her, she was ready for whatever came next. The Fremont Community Center buzzed with the chatter of kids and parents, its linoleum floors scuffed from years of science fairs and bake sales. Emily Carter stood by a folding table covered in Jake's project, a model rocket powered by a makeshift solar battery, its plastic fins painted a hopeful blue. Jake, in his favorite Tesla t-shirt, was explaining his design to a judge, his voice brimming with confidence. Emily's heart swelled, the memory of his runaway scare a week ago fading in the glow of his pride. Her phone, still cracked but functional, buzzed with notifications. Her viral Tesla article had landed her a staff job offer at a Bay Area outlet, a lifeline she'd never thought possible. But today, her focus was Jake, and the man she'd invited to see him. Tom Reynolds stood awkwardly by the entrance, his denim jacket out of place among the suburban parents in khakis and polos. Emily had called him yesterday, her voice shaky as she'd invited him to the science fair. For Jake, she'd said, though part of her wanted closure for herself. Tom's song in the San Francisco cafe, raw, regretful, had cracked her defenses, and Elon Musk's bold performance at the Tesla event had shown her the power of vulnerability. If a billionaire could sing, "Sweet Caroline," to a shocked crowd, maybe she could risk letting Tom back into her life, just a little. The community center smelled of glue sticks and excitement, its walls lined with posters about gravity and ecosystems. Emily waved Tom over, her stomach nodding as he approached. Jake was too busy with the judge to notice, but Emily's eyes locked on Tom's, searching for the sincerity she'd glimpsed in his song. Thanks for coming, she said, her voice low. Tom nodded, his hazel eyes, her eyes, soft with caution. Wouldn't miss it, Em. Your boy's something special. His words stirred a mix of warmth and wariness. She wasn't ready to forgive, but she wanted Jake to have what she'd lost, a father who showed up. Jake bounded over, his face lit with a grin. Mom, the judge said my rocket's awesome. Emily laughed, ruffling his hair. Told you, bud. She hesitated, then gestured to Tom. Jake, this is, my dad, Tom. Your grandpa. Jake's eyes widened, curiosity replacing his usual shyness. You know about rockets? Tom chuckled, kneeling to Jake's level. A bit. Used to dream of building M, but I stuck to guitars. That's a heck of a model, kid. Jake beamed, launching into an explanation of his solar battery, and Tom listened, his face softening in a way Emily hadn't seen since she was a kid. The center's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a warm glow over the scene. Emily's chest ached, the moment both fragile and hopeful. She thought of Elon's performance, how it had transformed the Tesla factory into a space of shared humanity. That night had sparked her article, her career's revival, and now, this tentative bridge with Tom. She'd spent years hating him, but seeing him with Jake, really listening, made her wonder if redemption was possible. Her article had been about courage, and maybe this was hers, letting Tom try, for Jake's sake and her own. Her phone buzzed, a text from Sarah, how's the science fair? You and Jake killing it? Emily smiled, typing back, he's a star. Tom's here. It's, okay. Sarah's reply was instant, proud of you, Em. Big steps. The encouragement grounded her, a reminder of the support that had carried her through the Tesla event, Jake's scare, and her article's success. She glanced at Jake and Tom, now laughing over a sketch in Jake's notebook, and felt a flicker of hope. This wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. But the moment wasn't without tension. A parent nearby whispered to another, eyeing Tom's worn jacket. Who's that guy? Doesn't look like he belongs. Emily's jaw tightened, her old insecurities flaring. She'd fought to belong, at the Tesla event, in her career, in this moment as a mom. Tom's presence was a risk, a reminder of her past failures. What if he let Jake down, too? Her phone buzzed again, a news alert, her article was trending again, shared by a Tesla engineer on X. The validation was a high, but the fear of Tom's unpredictability loomed, a new challenge to navigate. As the science fair wrapped up, Jake's rocket won a blue ribbon, and his grin lit up the room. Tom clapped, his eyes misty, and Emily felt a shift. She'd invited him here, inspired by Elon's courage to be vulnerable, to show up as himself. Her article had captured that, and now she was living it. You sticking around, Tom? She asked, her voice cautious but open. He nodded, his voice thick. If you'll have me, Em. I'd like to know Jake. And you. She didn't answer, but the napkin with his number was still in her pocket, a promise she might keep. The Fremont dusk settled outside, the community center emptying as families headed home. Emily, Jake, and Tom walked to the parking lot, Jake clutching his ribbon, Tom carrying his guitar case. The Tesla factory's silhouette glowed in the distance, a symbol of the night that had changed everything. Emily's article had given her a new beginning, and now, with Jake's dreams shining and Tom's tentative return, she felt ready for whatever came next. Courage, she realized, was showing up, cracked phone, broken past, and all. Emily Carter stood in her Fremont apartment, the morning sun streaming through the window, illuminating Jake's blue ribbon model rocket on the kitchen table. It was a week after his science fair, where Tom's tentative presence had marked a fragile new beginning. Her laptop glowed with emails about her viral Tesla article, now shared across platforms, earning her a staff job at a Bay Area outlet. The cracked phone beside her buzzed with a text from Sarah. You're a rock star, Em. Tesla event tonight, wanna go? Emily smiled, her heart lighter than it had been in years. Elon Musk's unexpected performance of Sweet Caroline had been the spark, but her journey, through Jake's dreams, Tom's redemption, and her own resilience, had lit the way. The apartment was quiet, Jake at school, his Tesla posters glowing in the sunlight. Emily sipped her coffee, reflecting on the past weeks. She'd been a struggling journalist, a single mom teetering on the edge, when Sarah's invitation to the Tesla event changed everything. Elon's raw, human moment on stage had mirrored her own fight to show up, despite the odds, her dead phone, Karen's rejections, Tom's letter. She'd turned that night into a story that resonated, not just with readers, but with herself. It was proof that courage, like a song, could transform a moment into a movement. Her thoughts were interrupted by a radio interview playing softly in the background, a familiar voice discussing the Tesla event's impact. Dr. Laura Bennett, a Bay Area psychologist, was analyzing why Elon's performance had captivated so many. Unexpected moments, like Musk singing, remind us of our shared humanity, Dr. Bennett said, her tone warm but authoritative. They jolt us out of routine, sparking transformation. When someone as iconic as Musk embraces vulnerability, it gives others permission to do the same, to chase dreams, mend relationships, or simply try again. Emily paused, the words sinking in. Dr. Bennett's perspective was a lens on her own journey. Elon's song had been her jolt, pushing her to rewrite her article, reconnect with Jake, and face Tom. She thought of Jake's Mars Dome sketches, his fearless ambition, and how she'd vowed to nurture it. She thought of Tom's guitar, his regretful chords in that San Francisco cafe, and how she'd invited him to the science fair, a step toward healing. Dr. Bennett continued, these moments don't erase pain, but they reframe it, showing us that growth comes from daring to be human. The Fremont morning was crisp, the distant hum of the Tesla factory a reminder of the night that started it all. Emily's article had captured that humanity, blending Elon's performance with her own story of perseverance. Its viral success, retweeted by Tesla engineers, praised on X, had given her a voice again. She'd learned that life, like a factory floor, was full of surprises, but love, for Jake, for her work, always lit the way. Dr. Bennett's words echoed that, transformation isn't linear. It's messy, like a song sung off-key, but it's beautiful because it's real. Emily's phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. An email from her new editor at the Bay Area outlet, Emily, your Tesla piece is still trending. Got a wild tip, check your inbox. Curious, she opened a second email, this one from a Tesla PR rep, her breath caught as she read, Ms. Carter, Mr. Musk read your article and was impressed. He'd like to meet you at tonight's Tesla event to discuss your perspective. Please confirm attendance. Emily's heart stopped, her coffee mug nearly slipping from her hand. Elon Musk wanted to meet her. The billionaire whose song had changed her life was now reaching out, hinting at a new adventure. The shock was electric, like the Tesla factory's lights flaring to life. Emily's mind raced, what could Elon want? A follow-up story? A collaboration? Or just a conversation? She thought of Jake, who'd lose his mind at the news, and Sarah, who'd insist on crashing the meeting. The Fremont sun seemed brighter, the apartment alive with possibility. She typed a quick reply, confirming her attendance, her hands trembling with excitement and nerves. Whatever this meeting held, it was a testament to her journey, from a struggling mom to a journalist whose voice mattered. She glanced at Jake's rocket, its blue ribbon glinting. Tonight, she'd take him to the Tesla event, not just as a fan, but as a dreamer whose sketches deserved to soar. She'd call Tom, too, maybe invite him to join, a small step toward rebuilding. Dr. Bennett's voice on the radio faded out, embrace the unexpected, it's where transformation begins. Emily nodded, her resolve firm. Elon's song had been her spark, but Jake's dreams, Tom's chords, and her own words had built the fire. The Tesla factory awaited, its glass walls a beacon of what was possible. Emily closed her laptop, ready for the next chapter. She'd faced her past, fought for her future, and found her voice. Whatever Elon had in store, she was ready to sing her own song. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?